welcome. I'm truly grateful to have you here. Please, make yourself comfortable and take your time. This story was crafted with care, dedication, and deep respect for your attention. I hope it brings you joy, reflection, and perhaps even a touch of nostalgia. Once again, thank you for sharing a moment of your day with me. You find yourself in the parched dust of first-century Judea. The air, thick with the scent of olive trees and distant market spices, now carries something else. Something metallic and raw that tightens your throat. You feel the sun, a relentless punishing weight on your skin, even through the thin fabric you wear. The ground beneath your feet is uneven, a mix of packed earth and jagged stone, each step a small challenge. You're part of a surging, restless crowd, pressed in on all sides by bodies, heat, and a low, guttural murmur that vibrates through the very soles of your feet. Your gaze is drawn upward, toward the crest of a small, barren hill. Three dark shapes pierce the harsh blue sky. The central figure is barely distinguishable, racked and twisted. You feel the collective gasp of the crowd, a shared intake of breath as if a single, invisible hand has squeezed every chest. A woman nearby sobs, a quiet, broken sound, and you see the flicker of grief in her eyes, raw and unguarded. Others stare with a mixture of morbid curiosity and detached relief. You don't know why you are here, but you are. You cannot look away. The silence that follows the initial clamor is even more suffocating. It's the kind of silence that amplifies every heartbeat, every shallow breath, every creak of timber. The air itself feels heavy, charged with something unseen, something terrible brewing. And then it comes. Not a shout of defiance, not a plea for mercy. It's a sound that rips through the air, deeper than any scream of physical torment. It's a cry of utter, profound desolation. A sound that resonates not from the body, but from a place of absolute, cold emptiness. You feel it in your bones, a chilling echo of something fundamental breaking. It's the sound of being utterly, completely alone. Abandoned. Not just by people, but by everything. A vast, echoing void opens up, and you're standing right at its edge, feeling the cold, dark wind it generates. In that moment, the world feels utterly bereft of comfort, of presence, of any guiding light. You understand viscerally what it means to be truly, terrifyingly alone. If this story resonates with you, please like and subscribe. I'm curious, where in the world are you listening from, and what time is it there? Share in the comments. You realize that some cries are not about the pain inflicted, but about the terrifying absence of anyone to hear them. You stand there, a cold knot tightening in your stomach, long after the sound has faded into the dry air. The sun still beats down, relentless, but now it feels different. Not just hot, but utterly indifferent, its light harsh and unforgiving, painting the landscape in stark, uncompromising lines. The dust, disturbed by countless shuffling feet, settles slowly, a fine, gritty veil coating everything, catching in your throat and making your mouth feel like sandpaper. You feel a strange kind of ringing in your ears, not from noise, but from the sudden, overwhelming absence of sound that followed the cry. It's an auditory void, a profound silence that feels heavier, more dense than any clamor. The crowd, which moments ago was a living, breathing entity, a tumultuous sea of faces, now begins to dissipate. There's no sudden rush, no shared explosion of relief or anger. Instead, it's a heavy, uncertain shuffling, a subdued retreat. Heads are bowed, shoulders slumped, not in prayer, but in a kind of collective bewilderment. No one speaks loudly. Even the usual chatter of vendors has died down, replaced by hushed whispers that seem swallowed by the vastness of the day. You catch glimpses of faces nearby, etched not with anger or triumph, but with a quiet, bewildered fear, a dawning comprehension of something terrible and unresolved. A man beside you unconsciously clutches his tunic, his knuckles white against his sun-darkened skin. You see a woman pull her child closer, her gaze sweeping across the indifferent sky, searching, yearning for some kind of sign, some flicker of a response. You, too, find your gaze drawn upwards, compelled by an instinct you can't name. The azure expanse stretches endlessly, featureless, devoid of any cloud, any flicker of lightning, any distant rumble of thunder. It's just the vast, silent, blue ceiling of the world. The silence isn't peaceful. It's immense, suffocating, pregnant with an unspoken dread that seems to press down from above. It's the profound quiet of a desperate question, asked into an empty room, a shattering plea echoing into an infinite void, only to be met by nothing. You strain your ears, your very mind, for any whisper, any distant movement that might signify recognition, a break in the cosmic indifference. There is nothing, absolutely nothing. Just the vast, empty canvas of the heavens. A coldness begins to seep into your limbs, not from the temperature, but from the chilling realization that this profound silence is the only reply. The air cools imperceptibly as the day imperceptibly wears on, carrying with it the persistent smell of dust and the faint, lingering metallic tang of blood that seems baked into the very ground. You turn, moving with the thinning current of people, each step feeling heavier than the last, as if you're wading through something thick and unseen. The weight isn't just physical. It's the unbearable weight of an unanswered universe, of a world that absorbs profound suffering and offers back only quiet, unyielding detachment. You glance back one last time at the hill. The figures are smaller now, receding, almost fading into the harsh light. Yet the indelible impression of that final desolate cry remains, an imprint on your very soul. You realize, with a chilling clarity that sinks deep into your bones, that sometimes the most terrifying answer is no answer at all. It's the profound, crushing realization that the universe can simply remain silent, utterly detached, a vast, indifferent observer in the face of ultimate despair. The world doesn't care. The air hits you first, sharp and icy, but it's not the cold that makes you recoil. It's the smell. A cloying, sickly sweetness, battling with something acrid, something undeniably foul beneath it. Like old meat left too long in a forgotten corner, mixed with unwashed bodies and the desperate, futile scent of cheap incense meant to cover it all. You pull your thick woolen cloak tighter around your face, trying to filter the unseen particles, but the stench seems to seep into your very clothes, clinging to your nostrils and lodging deep in your throat. You feel a persistent, phantom taste of ash and sickness on your tongue. You are in a narrow street, cobbled and slick with a thin layer of freezing muck. The sky above is a uniform, oppressive gray, pressing down on the crooked timbered houses that lean precariously inwards, almost touching overhead. Shadows cling to every crevice, making the already dim light feel even more suffocating. This isn't the bustling, clamorous medieval town you might expect. No. Here, the usual cacophony of market cries, animal bleats, and children's laughter has been replaced by an unsettling quiet. It's a quiet that buzzes with an unseen energy, a tension so palpable you can almost taste it, like bitter ashes that never quite dissolve. People move differently now. You notice it immediately. They hug the walls, heads down, eyes darting, avoiding contact. When two figures pass, they swing wide, creating a broad, unspoken arc of avoidance, pulling their own cloaks or scarfs high over their mouths. There's no greeting, no casual glance, just a desperate effort to maintain distance. Only hurried steps, furtive glances, and the sharp, almost painful clatter of wooden shoes on the cobbles, echoing unnervingly in the absence of other sounds. A door slams shut somewhere down the street, a stark punctuation mark in the heavy silence, making you jump, your heart giving a sudden, unwanted lurch. You feel a prickle of unease crawl up your spine, a cold sensation that has nothing to do with the winter air. Every shadow seems to conceal something. Every corner promises a new silent horror. Your eyes scan the shuttered windows, searching for movement, for a sign of life, but find only still, dark panes reflecting the dull sky and your own worried reflection. You notice a small, makeshift cross daubed crudely in chalk on a doorpost, and then another, and another, a silent, desperate prayer marking homes, where the silent plague has already entered. Your breath catches. You instinctively hold your own breath, feeling a sudden, irrational urgency to not inhale too deeply, as if the very air itself is tainted, carrying an invisible, insidious threat designed to seek you out. You try to walk faster, to escape the oppressive atmosphere, to outrun the invisible foe, but your legs feel heavy, leaden. Your heart thumps a frantic rhythm against your ribs, a drumbeat of pure, unadulterated fear. The weight of so many unsaid goodbyes, of so many sudden departures, hangs in the air, a shroud draped over the entire town. You understand now that this isn't just about bodies growing cold. It's about the coldness that settles in the hearts of the living, the chilling realization that the greatest terror isn't just death, but the isolation and fear that death brings, turning neighbors into strangers and trust into a dangerous luxury. The world has grown silent, not from peace, but from a terror that steals away the very breath of community, leaving behind only the echoing silence of profound abandonment. A distant, mournful clang, heavy and slow, cuts through the chilling air. It's the toll of a church bell, not calling people to worship with joyful peal, but marking time, marking loss, each strike a somber echo in the otherwise hushed town. You feel the vibration in the very ground beneath your boots, a cold shiver running up your legs. The air tastes like damp stone, and the faint, sweet decay that clings to everything these days. You find yourself drawn towards the sound, your footsteps hollow on the icy cobbles, each step feeling like an intrusion in the pervasive silence. You push open the heavy oak door of the church. A blast of frigid, stagnant air greets you, carrying the ancient scent of beeswax, old wood, and something indefinable, perhaps the lingering presence of countless, desperate hopes. Inside, it's even colder than the street. a biting, damp chill that seems to cling to the very fabric of your clothes. The grand, stained glass windows, meant to spill vibrant stories across the nave, are now just dull, leaded panes, filtering the gray sky into a weak, sorrowful light. The usual warmth of sanctuary, the comforting murmur of a congregation, the scent of burning incense are all absent. Only a handful of figures are scattered throughout the vast, echoing space. They are huddled on wooden benches or kneeling awkwardly on the cold stone floor, their bodies slumped. Their faces are pale, gaunt, etched with a fatigue that goes beyond mere physical exhaustion. Their eyes, when they flicker up, hold a deep, unsettling emptiness, a profound weariness. You watch as a woman near the altar repeatedly crosses herself, her movements slow, mechanical, her lips moving in a soundless litany. A man beside her clutches a worn rosary, his knuckles white, his head bowed so low his chin almost touches his chest. There's no shared comfort here, no collective strength. Each soul is an island, lost in its own silent plea, its own gnawing fear. You sink to your knees on the unforgiving stone, the cold seeping through your thin garments instantly. You close your eyes, trying to conjure words, trying to find a warmth within you that simply isn't there. You attempt to pray, to whisper the familiar phrases that once brought solace, but they feel hollow, insubstantial. They rise from your lips and dissipate into the vast, empty space above, swallowed by the immense, indifferent quiet of the ancient arches. You strain your ears, not for an audible reply, but for any sign, any faint resonance, any flicker of reassurance in your soul. There is nothing, only the persistent, cold silence. The air itself feels unresponsive, absorbing your desperate appeals without a ripple. The flickering candlelight on the altar casts long, dancing shadows that seem to mock the stillness, making the emptiness feel even deeper. You open your eyes to see the same vacant desperation reflected in the faces around you, the same growing suspicion that their prayers, like yours, are simply falling into a bottomless void. You realize, with a chilling certainty, that this isn't just about physical suffering. It's about the terrifying abandonment of the spirit, a world where even the heavens have fallen silent, leaving humanity utterly, chillingly alone to face an invisible, unstoppable terror. A thin, metallic clang, uneven and hollow, slices through the damp morning air. It's not the steady peal of a church bell, nor the cheerful jingle of a peddler. The sound is different, sharp and isolated, a deliberate warning. It seems to echo not just through the gray mist clinging to the narrow lanes, but directly into the quiet space behind your ribs. You feel a sudden, unwelcome chill creep up your spine, colder than the biting winter air that nips at your exposed skin. The ground beneath your rough boots is slick with dew and a thin layer of mud, each step squelching softly, a stark contrast to the piercing sound. You are walking on the outskirts of a small village. The scent of wet earth and distant wood smoke, usually comforting, now feels heavy, almost oppressive. Ahead of you, through the swirling fog that obscures the world in soft, uncertain blurs, you make out a movement. A figure, hunched, shrouded in a coarse, dark cloak, moving slowly, deliberately along the edge of the path. And then the clang sounds again, a little closer this time, clearer, undeniably tethered to that solitary shape. As the figure draws nearer, You notice the subtle shifts in the few other people you encounter. A farmer, leading a weary ox, quickly tugs the animal sharply to the other side of the lane, his eyes fixed on the ground, his body tensed. A woman carrying a basket of eggs pulls her shawl tighter around her face, veering abruptly into the shadow of a stone wall, her head bowed in a posture of instant, unthinking avoidance. No one speaks, no one shouts. There is only the quick, instinctive sidestepping, a collective recoil that creates a wide, invisible circle around the approaching sound. Their faces, when you catch a glimpse, are not angry, but etched with a profound, almost primal fear, tinged with a deep, silent sorrow. You feel your own stomach clench, an ancient instinct urging you to also pull away, to widen the distance. Your throat feels tight, suddenly dry. You recognize the sound now, the purpose of that insistent, mournful clang. It's the leper's bell. It's not just a physical warning. It's a living, breathing declaration of absolute exclusion. A symbol that tells the world, keep away. You are alone. And for a moment, as the figure passes, their head turned away, their face hidden by the deep hood, you catch a glimpse of a hand, gnarled and covered in rough cloth, holding the small, crude bell. The sound, so small, so simple, carries an immense weight of loneliness. The air around you feels thin, suddenly colder, even after the sound has faded into the mist behind you. The village, with its promise of warmth and community, seems impossibly far away. You continue walking, but the rhythm of your own footsteps now seems changed, each step carrying an echo of that solitary clang, a resonance of enforced solitude. You realize that this bell isn't just to protect others. It's a constant, agonizing reminder to the one who wears it that they are utterly severed, exiled from the touch and presence of all humanity. This is not just sickness. This is total, undeniable abandonment, made audible for the whole world to hear and to heed. You feel a different kind of chill now, one that carries the faint scent of damp earth, wood smoke, and something else. A raw, untamed smell that speaks of rough living, far from the manicured lanes of any village. You push through a thicket of gnarled, leafless bushes, their icy branches scraping against your cloak, each rustle loud in the profound quiet. The air itself feels wilder here, less constrained, yet still heavy with the lingering touch of isolation, like a breath held too long. You emerge into a hidden hollow, a natural clearing surrounded by the skeletal trees of winter. Before you, a collection of makeshift shelters huddles together, crude shapes fashioned from scavenged branches, animal hides, and patched, threadbare cloth. Wisps of smoke curl lazily from a few central fires, their warmth a stark visual contrast to the biting cold of the air, creating a ghostly, shifting haze. The ground is churned earth, worn smooth by countless footsteps, yet it lacks the sharp, defined paths of a bustling settlement. This is a place built not with tools, but with desperation. Figures move amongst these rough dwellings. You see them clearly now, their forms often hunched, their movements slow and deliberate. Their clothes are patched and worn, simple garments that offer little defense against the cold. Many carry the visible marks of their affliction, disfigured hands, shadowed faces, a distinct, telltale gait. And you hear it too, a faint, sporadic jingle, not just one, but several of the small, metallic bells, each a whisper of past exclusion. Yet here, among them, the sound doesn't carry the same urgent warning as before. Instead, it seems to blend into the muted hum of shared existence, a melancholic rhythm of belonging. As you step further into the clearing, you feel eyes turn towards you. Not with immediate fear, not with that instantaneous, recoiling horror you witnessed in the village. Here, their gazes are slow, assessing, filled with a deep, weary understanding. A woman, her face partially obscured by a hooded cloak, offers a slight, almost imperceptible nod in your direction. A man, sitting by a smoldering fire, simply meets your gaze for a long moment, a profound, wordless recognition passing between you. There's no need for shouts or warnings here. The common bond of the cast-out is palpable, thick in the cold air, a silent invitation into their shared solitude. The silence that hangs over this hollow is different. It's not the fearful, avoiding quiet of the outside world, but a heavy, accepting hush, punctuated by the soft crackle of wood, the occasional cough, the rustle of cloth. They have been abandoned by the world, by their homes, by their former lives. Yet, in this desolate sanctuary, they have found something else. They have found each other. And you realize that even when everything is stripped away, when you are exiled to the furthest margins of existence, the human heart still yearns for, and can sometimes find, a profound, quiet connection, a shared refusal to be utterly, completely alone. You feel the chill of ancient stone against your hand, rough and unyielding, as you lean against a vast, moss-covered wall. The air here is thick, with the scent of damp earth and something else, something metallic and cold, like old iron that has stood guard for centuries. The sky above is a canvas of angry, bruised clouds, pressing down on a landscape that feels burdened and somber. A low, persistent wind whistles through the cracks of the stone, a mournful, drawn-out sigh that seems to carry the echoes of forgotten voices. You are standing at the edge of what was once a grand fortress, now mostly ruins, its jagged teeth biting into the gray sky. But this isn't just any ruin. It's a place where power once resided, not of armies, but of unwavering belief. The ground beneath your feet is a mix of frozen mud and loose stones, making each step treacherous, as if the earth itself resists your intrusion. Tall, skeletal trees stand guard like silent sentinels, their bare branches rattling a dry, hollow rhythm in the wind. A small group of people huddles together in the lee of one of the remaining towers, their cloaks pulled tight against the biting wind. Their faces are grim, their eyes downcast, betraying a shared anxiety. They shift uncomfortably, a subtle movement of collective unease, like sheep before a storm. You see a woman repeatedly smoothing the front of her simple dress, her hands trembling slightly. A man beside her keeps glancing towards a heavy, arching doorway, his jaw clenched, his gaze fixed and unblinking. There is no joy here, no expectation of solace. Only a quiet, stoic resignation, a fearful anticipation. From the dark maw of the doorway, a figure emerges. Tall, robed in dark, heavy fabric that seems to absorb all light, his posture rigid and unyielding. You feel an immediate, visceral sense of coldness radiating from him, not physical, but an aura of absolute, inflexible authority. His face is severe, his eyes like chips of flint, sweeping over the small congregation with an almost contemptuous gaze. He doesn't offer a greeting, doesn't even acknowledge their presence with a nod. Instead, a single heavy word, sharp as an icicle, cuts through the wind: judgment. His voice is deep, resonant, and utterly devoid of warmth. It isn't a voice that seeks to comfort or uplift, but to command, to condemn. You feel the word land like a physical blow, a cold, hard truth hurled at the huddled figures. The message is clear. Suffering isn't random. It's deserved. Every sickness, every loss, every ache is a direct consequence, a divine punishment. You feel the accusation hang heavy in the air, a burden pressing down on every soul present, painting their quiet fear with the stark brush of guilt. The wind whips around you, seeming to carry his words, embedding them deep into the desolate landscape. You realize that this isn't just about faith, it's about control. It's about a rigid system that, in its attempt to explain suffering, strips away all comfort, leaving people not just afflicted but utterly abandoned to their perceived sins, by a God who seems to demand penance above all else. The biting wind whips around you, carrying the scent of damp earth and the cold, unyielding aroma of ancient stone. You feel the grit of tiny ice particles striking your face, forcing you to squint against the elements. The air tastes bitter, sharp on your tongue, and your breath mists in front of you, a fleeting, visible sign of your own fragile presence in this desolate place. Above, the sky remains a bruised, oppressive gray, a heavy lid pressing down on the world. The robed figure stands before the huddled group, his presence a stark, immovable monolith against the crumbling stone of the fortress. His voice, deep and resonant, cuts through the wind, each word hammered out with an absolute, unshakable certainty. You watch as he sweeps his arm, a gesture that encompasses not just the ruins, but the very landscape around you, as if claiming dominion over all visible sorrow. His eyes, though dark, seem to burn with an inner fire, a fierce conviction that allows no room for doubt or questioning. He speaks not of comfort, but of consequence, of the indelible stain of human failing. You feel the weight of his words settle upon you, a cold, crushing burden. He describes suffering not as an accident, but as a deliberate act of divine reckoning, a mirror reflecting humanity's own inherent flaws. He paints a stark picture. Every ache, every loss, every whispered fear is a testament, a direct consequence of a world steeped in transgression. You see the faces around you, pale and drawn, flinch almost imperceptibly with each pronouncement. A young woman nearby slowly lowers her gaze to the ground, her shoulders hunching, as if shrinking from an invisible blow. An older man, his face a roadmap of hard living, slowly clenches his fists at his sides, his jaw tightening with a grim, unspoken acceptance. His gaze, sharp and unsparing, seems to pierce through the heavy woolen cloaks, through the very skin, right into the vulnerable core of each person present. There is no mercy in his eyes, only a relentless, unwavering judgment. He makes it clear, any hope for reprieve, any whisper of solace, is something that must be earned through rigorous self-denial, through an endless cycle of penance. And even then, it is not guaranteed. You feel a profound chill settle in your chest, deeper than the winter air, as you grasp the implication. Humanity is left to its own devices, to battle its inherent sinfulness, under the relentless gaze of a God who demands perfection. You instinctively look up, past the imposing figure, past the crumbling stones, towards the vast, featureless gray sky. You search, almost desperately, for any sign of a counterpoint, any flicker of warmth, any suggestion of a different truth. But there is nothing. Only the cold, indifferent expanse. The air still whispers through the ruins, the wind still bites at your exposed skin, but there is no answering voice, no softening light, no comforting warmth. You realize that the fire of his conviction, though intense and absolute, does not bring light. Instead, it seems to burn away any last vestiges of hope, leaving you abandoned not just by an unreachable God, but by the very possibility of grace, trapped under a sky that offers only cold, unwavering silence. The sharp, earthy scent of turned soil fills your nostrils, mingling with a faint, underlying sweetness that speaks of decaying leaves and forgotten dreams. You feel the rough, crumbly texture of dry earth beneath your fingertips, cool despite the weak, watery sun that struggles to break through a persistent haze. A thin, cold wind whispers across the open field, rustling through the tall, brittle stalks of last year's harvest, a sound like dry bones rattling. You are standing at the edge of a field, recently tilled but showing no sign of sprouting life, stretching out under a vast, indifferent sky. This is not the vibrant green of spring, nor the golden bounty of autumn. This is a landscape of waiting, of quiet expectation, that feels increasingly like a desolate, endless pause. The earth itself seems to hold its breath, cold and unyielding. You notice a few scattered trees in the distance, their bare branches etched like stark skeletal drawings against the pale horizon. A woman walks slowly across the furrows, her movements stiff, almost hesitant, as if each step costs her immense effort. Her simple, homespun dress, faded and worn, offers little warmth against the chill. Her head is bowed, her shoulders slumped, and her hands are clasped tightly together, occasionally rubbing at the small, dark patch of fabric over her abdomen, a gesture of unconscious, persistent yearning. You see the deep lines of weariness etched around her eyes, the set of her jaw, a quiet battle fought over countless, silent seasons. Her gaze is fixed on the soil, not with the farmer's hope for growth, but with a profound, almost desperate communion. She stops, kneeling awkwardly in the middle of a furrow. Her fingers, calloused and strong from years of labor, tentatively brush against the cold, dark earth, as if seeking an answer, a connection. She picks up a handful of the soil, letting it sift through her fingers, grain by painstaking grain. Her movements are slow, deliberate, each action imbued with a silent, heavy question. There's no sound from her, no audible lament, but you feel the weight of her unspoken grief, a heavy presence in the still air. It's the profound, aching silence of a hope perpetually deferred, a yearning that echoes back only emptiness. You watch her, your own breath catching in your throat. You understand without a single word being spoken the immense burden she carries. It is the weight of expectation, the societal pressure, yes, but more profoundly, it is the solitary personal grief of a life unfulfilled in the most fundamental way. The barrenness of the field around her mirrors the barrenness she feels within, a stark, painful truth that settles like a cold stone in your own stomach. This isn't just about the absence of a child. It's about the crushing weight of a future that seems to stretch out, empty and unyielding, a profound abandonment of a primal hope, leaving a silence that screams louder than any cry. You step inside, and the air itself feels ancient, tasting not just of dust, but of forgotten years, of stale memories. A fine, pervasive layer of gray dust coats everything, clinging to the rough wood of the floorboards, dulling the faint light that filters through grimy, cobwebbed windows. You feel the chill immediately, a deep, pervasive cold that seems to have settled into the very bones of the house, a constant companion to the quiet decay. The floorboards groan softly under your weight, each creak echoing unnervingly in the profound silence. This was once a home, perhaps a grand one, but now it's a hollow shell. Empty rooms stretch out before you, stripped bare of all but the most stubborn remnants of former life. A tattered curtain hangs limply from a single hook, swaying almost imperceptibly in a phantom breeze. In one corner, a forgotten, intricately carved wooden cradle lies overturned, covered in a thick shroud of dust, a silent monument to a future that never arrived, or departed too soon. You run your hand over its cold, smooth wood, and your fingers come away with a layer of grit, a tangible reminder of time's relentless march and memory's slow fade. You move deeper into the house, each step stirring up tiny clouds of motes that dance in the slivers of light, ghost particles of what once was. The air is still, heavy, filled with an unspoken narrative of absence. You enter what might have been a sitting room. A large, empty hearth dominates one wall, cold and black, a place where no fire has warmed in generations. Above it, a faint, discolored patch on the wallpaper suggests where a painting once hung, now just a faded outline, a forgotten image. There's a peculiar smell here, not overtly foul, but a scent of neglect, of materials slowly returning to the earth from which they came. You notice the faint imprints on the dust, where something once sat, a chair, a table, now gone, leaving only the ghost of its presence. It's a house of echoes and outlines, a physical manifestation of a legacy that simply ended. No bustling children, no laughter, no new stories to fill these rooms. The silence is absolute, a profound quietude that feels heavier than any sound, a testament to the absence of the future. You imagine the final closing of the door, the last footsteps, and then nothing. Just the slow, inevitable creep of dust, reclaiming everything. You find yourself standing by a window, looking out onto an overgrown garden, choked with weeds and wild brambles. A forgotten swing set, its chains rusted, hangs motionlessly from an ancient tree, a silent, poignant symbol of playtime that ceased, of potential that withered. The sun dips lower, casting long, melancholy shadows that stretch across the barren floor. You feel a profound sense of emptiness, a chilling understanding of what it means for a line to simply end, for a story to run out of pages. It's the ultimate abandonment, not just of a physical space, but of memory itself, leaving behind only a legacy of dust, a silent testament to lives that once were, and now, are forgotten. This is what happens when the future is abandoned. When the thread of connection breaks, leaving only quiet decay and the relentless, indifferent march of time. The roar of the ocean hits you first, a vast, indifferent symphony of crashing waves that taste of salt and cold spray on your lips. The air is sharp and bracing, tearing at your clothes, carrying the raw, untamed scent of endless water and damp, ancient stone. You feel the constant, vibrating tremor of the earth under your worn boots. A subtle thrum that speaks of immense power. The sky above is a brooding, heavy gray, stretching out to meet the turbulent horizon in a seamless, unbroken line. You stand on a jagged cliff, overlooking an expanse of furious, churning sea. Below, the water crashes against the base of the rock with relentless force, each explosion of foam a reminder of its unstoppable might. To your back, the land stretches inland, a desolate, wind-swept moor, covered in tough, resilient grasses that flatten and spring back with every gust. There are remnants of human endeavor here. Crumbling stone walls, half-buried foundations, stoic witnesses to a time long past. But they are consumed by the wildness, slowly yielding to the unfeeling embrace of nature. A solitary figure stands at the very edge of the cliff, silhouetted against the vast watery expanse. He is clad in what looks like the heavy, practical armor of a Roman legionary, though stained and dulled by countless seasons of salt and weather. His cloak, once a vibrant imperial red, is now a faded, tattered brown, whipping around him like a wounded bird in the relentless wind. He stands motionless, rooted to the spot, his back to you, his gaze fixed on the tumultuous horizon, as if searching for something that will never appear from the endless gray. You can't see his face, but you feel the weight of his posture, the profound stillness that emanates from him. It's a stillness born not of peace, but of an immense, internal quietude, a monumental patience forged in the face of an unending weight. He could be a statue, a monument to a forgotten war, if not for the subtle, almost imperceptible sway of his body in the wind, a silent testament to his continued weary existence. There is no urgency in him, no frantic movement, just an unyielding, stoic presence against the backdrop of an indifferent world. The vastness of the ocean mirrors the immensity of his solitude. He is a relic, a fragment of an empire that has long since retreated, leaving him behind at the very edge of its reach, a forgotten sentinel. You realize that this isn't just geographical abandonment. It's the cold, hard reality of being disconnected from everything that once defined him. His comrades, his mission, the very power of Rome itself. He is a testament to the chilling truth that empires rise and fall, and in their wake, they leave behind those who believed, those who served, marooned on the forgotten shores of a future that no longer includes them. The sea roars its ancient song, and you feel the immense crushing weight of a life, a purpose, utterly, profoundly abandoned by the tide of history. The raw, untamed wind tears at your cloak, whipping strands of hair across your face as it carries the sharp, icy taste of salt from the furious ocean. You feel the cold seeping into your bones, a pervasive chill that matches the brooding gray of the sky above, pressing down like an immense silent weight. The air is thick with the scent of damp rock and endless, churning water, a primal aroma that speaks of time before and after any empire. You stand near the lost legionary, the relentless wind buffeting him, an ancient, weathered monument carved from flesh and faded bronze. His heavy, practical armor, once a symbol of imperial might, is now scarred and dulled, the bronze cuirass pitted with verdigris, almost green in places. His once proud imperial red cloak is reduced to tattered brown rags, flapping wildly around him, a wounded banner in a forgotten war. He seems to be carved from the very rock he stands upon, unmoving, his gaze fixed on the turbulent horizon, searching for a sign that will never appear. You feel the profound stillness emanating from him, a silence that hums with the weight of countless years of unanswered watch. Every instinct, every fiber of his being, once attuned to the commands of his centurion, to the precise movements of his cohort, is now adrift. There's no battle cry, no clash of steel, no shared camaraderie of the camp, only the ceaseless, indifferent roar of the waves below, a sound that has no orders, no comfort, no recognition for his unwavering vigilance. His hands, though gloved, seem to grip something invisible, perhaps a phantom standard, its eagle long since fallen. You notice how the constant spray has etched lines into the metal of his armor, how the wind has polished the exposed parts of his helmet to a dull sheen, slowly eroding the very symbols of his past. The vastness of the ocean, the endless gray expanse of the sky, they seem to swallow the very idea of borders and dominion that his uniform once proclaimed. This is a place where Rome's reach abruptly ended, not with a flourish, but with a quiet, devastating retreat, leaving him here, a solitary sentinel at the world's forgotten edge. He is not just physically abandoned, he is a living relic of a purpose that no longer exists. The sheer, crushing weight of that absence settles over you. It's the desolation of believing in something absolute, something eternal, only to witness its slow, inevitable dissolution, leaving you utterly disconnected, a solitary fragment of a vanished world. You imagine the thud of the eagle standard being laid down for the last time, not in victory, but in forgotten defeat, the legions marching away, not in triumph, but in a quiet, unheralded retreat. The world moves on, the empire crumbles, and the one who served, who stood guard, is simply left behind. This is the profound, chilling truth of abandonment, not by a person, but by the very purpose that once defined your existence, leaving you to face an indifferent eternity, alone. You feel the rich, cool texture of polished marble beneath your palm, smooth and surprisingly cold, even in the warmth that surrounds you. The air is heavy, thick with the lingering scent of expensive frankincense, stale parchment, and a faint cloying sweetness of aged wine. It's an aroma that speaks of power and ancient ritual, but also of something stagnant, trapped. You hear the distant, muffled murmur of city life beyond the heavy stone walls, a low, vibrant hum that somehow only amplifies the profound silence within these gilded confines. You stand within a vast, echoing hall, where light streams in through tall, arched windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the sunbeams like tiny, forgotten stars. The walls are adorned with intricate tapestries depicting scenes of religious triumph and solemn judgment, their faded colors still radiating an aura of severe beauty. Every surface gleams, from the polished wooden tables to the elaborate candelabras that stand sentinel, unlit, along the perimeter. This is a place of immense wealth and undisputed authority, a space meticulously designed to inspire awe and obedience. At the far end of the hall, a solitary figure sits on a massive, intricately carved wooden chair, almost a throne. He is dressed in robes of the finest silk and velvet, deep crimson and purple, colors of undeniable prestige. Gold embroidery glints softly on the fabric, catching the light. His hands, adorned with heavy rings, rest formally on the arms of the chair. But it's his face that draws your gaze. Pale and drawn, his eyes are wide, fixed on some unseen point in the vast distance. There's a hollow, almost ghostly quality to his features, a profound weariness that even the luxurious fabric of his attire cannot conceal. He moves rarely, almost imperceptibly, a slight shift of his head, a slow blink, but there's no animation, no flicker of engagement with his opulent surroundings. You sense a peculiar stillness about him, a profound isolation that seems to ripple outwards, filling the grand hall with an invisible, oppressive weight. He is surrounded by splendor, yet he appears utterly alone, suspended in a moment of perpetual detachment. You realize with a sudden sharp understanding that his luxury is a cage, his power a burden. You feel a strange kind of pity, cold and unexpected, for this figure of authority. He is not physically imprisoned, yet he is more captive than any common criminal. The very air around him, thick with the scent of power and unyielding doctrine, seems to press in, isolating him from genuine human connection. This isn't just about separation. It's about a profound spiritual banishment, a severing of the most fundamental ties. He has been abandoned, not by a physical force, but by the very warmth of human fellowship, left in a gilded cage where the only company is the echoing silence of his own excommunication. The biting wind whips around you, carrying the sharp scent of damp stone and the wet earth. You feel the raw chill seep into your bones, a pervasive coldness that clings to your skin and tightens your chest. From behind the immense heavy oak doors of the cathedral, you hear it, a faint, muffled murmur of voices, a low, rhythmic chant rising and falling like a distant, ethereal tide. It's a sound that promises warmth, community, and solace, but it reaches you only as a tantalizing, incomplete whisper, a ghost of what is truly happening within. You stand on the vast, cobbled square, directly before the imposing facade of the cathedral. Its towering spires pierce the gray, unforgiving sky, and its ancient stone walls loom over you, immense and unyielding. The heavy oak doors, studded with dark iron, are firmly closed, a formidable barrier. Their dark wood feels cold and impassive beneath your touch, a physical manifestation of your exclusion. The air here, in the square, feels empty, vast, a stark contrast to the imagined closeness and shared breath of those inside. A few figures hurry across the square, their heads bowed, their steps purposeful. They are wrapped tightly in their cloaks, moving quickly towards the smaller side entrance, which opens and closes with a soft, swift motion, swallowing them whole. You catch glimpses of their faces as they pass, solemn, focused, a quiet determination in their eyes. They move with an unconscious grace, a practiced ease that speaks of belonging, of a place reserved for them within those sacred walls. Not one of them glances your way, their world entirely contained by the promise of the interior, leaving you an invisible observer, a shadow against the grand architecture. You close your eyes, trying to focus on the muffled sounds, trying to piece together the words of the chant, to find some resonance, some connection. But it's futile. The sound remains indistinct, a blurred echo, a symphony you are only meant to overhear, never to join. The wind gusts again, colder this time, tearing at your cloak, making the wooden doors groan faintly on their ancient hinges. A sigh that seems to underscore your isolation. You press your forehead against the cold stone of the wall, seeking some anchor, some warmth, but finding only an immense, unfeeling solidity. The chill isn't just external. It's a deep, unsettling cold that settles in your spirit. It's the profound weight of being outside, beyond the pale, not just from a physical building, but from the spiritual embrace it represents. You feel abandoned not by a person, but by the very fabric of communal belief, by the shared warmth of grace, by the comfort of ritual. The world inside, with its murmuring prayers and sacred light, feels impossibly distant, separated by more than just stone and wood. It's a terrifying realization that some forms of abandonment aren't about being forgotten, but about being deliberately, consciously, and irrevocably cast out, leaving you with only the cold wind and the echoing silence of a world where you no longer belong. You feel a sudden, jarring shift in the air, a drop in pressure that makes your ears pop, and a sharp, acrid scent like burnt dust and ancient ozone pricks your nostrils. The ground beneath your feet, cracked and dry earth, vibrates with a low, almost imperceptible hum that feels like the last gasp of something immense. The sun above is a fierce, white disk, beating down on a landscape that seems to shimmer with heat and a profound, unsettling stillness. You stand at the mouth of a deep, dark chasm, its edges jagged and worn smooth by untold ages. This isn't just a natural fissure. It's a wound in the earth, a place where the veil between worlds felt thin, where answers were once believed to rise from the depths. The air here is heavy, thick, almost suffocating, not with moisture but with a dry, dusty pressure, as if something vital has been sucked out of it. The wind, when it comes, sounds like a whisper of dying embers. Figures are gathered, not in a crowd, but in a small, anxious cluster around the chasm's edge. They are robed, some clutching small offerings of dried herbs or polished stones, their faces upturned, eyes fixed on the empty space above the fissure. There's a palpable tension in their silence, a nervous energy that makes your own muscles tighten. You see a priestess, her elaborate headdress askew, her face streaked with dust and what might be tears, her hands trembling as she stares into the depths. Another, an elder, paces slowly, his staff tapping a rhythmic, hollow sound on the rock, a desperate cadence. Hope, fear, and a dawning dread are all etched plainly on their faces. From the chasm, no voice emerges. No smoke, no vapor, no cryptic whispers. Only the same acrid, dusty air, rising in a faint, suffocating current. The hum, which was always subtle, seems to fade even further, dissolving into the pervasive stillness, like a dying echo. The priestess drops her offering, a small, dried flower, and it tumbles silently into the abyss, absorbed by the profound darkness below. Her shoulders slump, her posture deflating like a deflated sack. A collective sigh, hushed and full of an immense, shared disappointment, ripples through the group. The silence that follows is not the usual peaceful quiet of nature. It's a heavy, profound quiet, the silence of an answer that will never come, of a connection irrevocably severed. The sun continues to beat down, indifferent, on the parched earth and the desolate chasm. You realize, with a chilling certainty that sinks deep into your bones, that the oracle is dead. Not just the person, but the very possibility of divine guidance, of a higher voice speaking into the human realm. This isn't just about a lost prophecy. It's about the terrifying abandonment of wisdom, of foresight, of the comforting illusion that someone, somewhere, knows the way forward. The ancient connection has broken, leaving humanity to stumble blind, utterly alone in a silent, indifferent cosmos. The scent of fresh-cut stone and damp mortar fills your lungs, mingling with the faint, persistent aroma of beeswax. You feel the cold, smooth surface of a newly carved wooden pew beneath your hand, its grain still sharp and unweathered. The air inside this place is cool, almost sterile, a stark contrast to the heavy, dust-laden atmospheres you've known before. It's the smell of new beginnings, of hope painstakingly shaped from raw materials. You stand within a freshly consecrated chapel, its stone walls still shedding a fine powder, its stained glass windows, though modest, casting patches of vibrant, unblemished color onto the crisp, clean floor. This isn't a place burdened by centuries of tradition, but one built with a fresh, earnest desire for connection. The light is clear, bright, optimistic, yet there's an underlying silence, a waiting stillness that feels profound. The usual faint murmur of a town, of distant horses and human chatter, seems to vanish the moment you step across the threshold. A small congregation is gathered here, their faces scrubbed clean, their clothes neat, if simple. They kneel on the new wooden prayer benches, their backs straight, their eyes earnest. There's a different kind of solemnity here, compared to the ancient, grief-stricken churches. Here you sense a hopeful, almost desperate yearning for affirmation. They whisper their prayers, not with the resigned weariness of those who have lost hope, but with a tentative, persistent faith, a quiet plea rising from each individual heart. You see a young woman, her hands clasped tightly, her lips moving, her gaze fixed on the newly painted altar, an image of serene devotion. The collective murmur of their prayers rises, a soft, ethereal hum, and floats upwards, towards the high, vaulted ceiling. You feel your own breath catch, drawn into their shared aspiration. You strain your ears not for an oracle's response, nor the peal of ancient bells, but for a different kind of sign, a sense of warmth, a whisper in the spirit, a subtle shift in the air that might indicate an acknowledgement, a presence. But there is nothing. The prayers dissipate into the quiet, absorbed by the fresh plaster and the new timbers. The air remains cool, the silence profound, unwavering. The stained glass light continues to fall in unmoving patterns on the floor, beautiful, but utterly indifferent. No sudden warmth, no comforting presence, no answering peace descends. Only the vast, empty quiet of an unquestioning space. You watch as a man nearby slowly unclasps his hands, his shoulders subtly slumping, a faint, almost imperceptible sigh escaping his lips. His gaze, once hopeful, now carries a familiar, weary question. You realize, with a chilling clarity that resonates with the echoes of previous silences, that a new God and a new house can still be profoundly, terrifyingly silent. This isn't the abandonment of ancient wisdom, nor the rigid judgment of a demanding deity from the past. This is the quiet, devastating realization that even with renewed faith, with new hope and earnest prayers, the universe can still offer only an immense, unbroken quiet. It's the profound, crushing weight of realizing that the terrifying silence isn't just a historical event, but a persistent, universal condition of being utterly, existentially alone. Even when you try to reach out to the very newest of hopes, you feel the rough, unyielding rock beneath your bare feet, its surface cold and gritty with salt and sand. The relentless roar of the ocean fills your ears, a deafening, primal sound that tastes of brine and raw, untamed power. The air is heavy with sea spray, chilling your skin and plastering your hair to your face. Above, the sky is a vast, indifferent canvas of bruised gray and swirling clouds, an endless expanse that offers no comfort, only a profound sense of scale. You are on a desolate, rocky shore, a narrow strip of land wedged between the furious churn of the sea and the jagged, inhospitable cliffs that rise behind you. The remains of a vessel, splintered timbers and torn sails are strewn along the beach, ghostly skeletons bleached by salt and sun. The rhythmic crash of waves against the rocks is the only constant, a brutal, monotonous rhythm that seems to mock any attempt at human order. Each receding wave drags pebbles and sand with a harsh, scraping sound, pulling at your sense of stability. A small group of figures huddle near the base of the cliff, their forms indistinct against the monumental backdrop of rock and sea. Their clothes are soaked, torn, clinging to their emaciated frames. Their faces, when you catch a glimpse, are gaunt, caked with salt, etched with a mixture of raw terror and a profound, bone-deep exhaustion. They move slowly, stiffly, their limbs aching from the cold and the ordeal. There's no fire, no shelter, just the exposed rock and the relentless wind. You see a woman try to stand, falter, and then collapse back onto the sand, her head bowed in silent defeat. No one speaks. The roar of the sea is too immense, too overwhelming for human voices. Instead, communication happens through a glance, a shared shiver, the slight leaning of one desperate body against another for a moment of fleeting warmth. Their eyes are fixed on the horizon, not with the eager anticipation of rescue, but with a vacant, almost broken stare. It's as if their minds, like their bodies, have been scoured clean by the brutal elements, leaving only the raw instinct for survival. You feel the profound quiet of their despair, a silence born not of peace, but of utter, complete desolation. You feel a wave of despair wash over you, cold as the ocean's spray. This isn't just about losing a ship. It's about being stripped of everything: home, possessions, hope, and the very illusion of control over one's fate. They are marooned, not just on a physical island, but in an existential void, abandoned by the predictable currents of the world. The vast, indifferent sea, the unyielding cliffs, the empty sky, all conspire to create a profound sense of cosmic detachment. You realize, with a chilling certainty, that the most terrifying form of abandonment isn't just being left behind. It's being cast into an immense, uncaring void, where your cries are swallowed by the roar of an indifferent universe, leaving you utterly, terrifyingly alone at the mercy of raw, untamed elements. You feel the rough, unyielding rock beneath your bare feet, its surface cold and gritty, not just with sand, but with an almost spiritual desolation. The relentless roar of the ocean fills your ears, a deafening, primal sound that tastes of brine and something else now, the bitter tang of unanswered questions. The air is heavy with sea spray, chilling your skin and plastering your hair to your face, but it's the coldness that settles deep in your chest, a spiritual chill that truly pierces. Above, the sky is a vast, indifferent canvas of bruised gray and swirling clouds, an endless expanse that offers no comfort, only a profound sense of cosmic scale. You are still on this desolate, rocky shore, the remains of the shattered vessel, a stark, skeletal reminder of a journey violently ended. The rhythmic crash of waves against the rocks is the only constant, a brutal, monotonous rhythm that seems to mock any whisper of human hope. Each receding wave drags pebbles and sand with a harsh, scraping sound, a relentless erasure, pulling not just at the ground, but at the very foundations of belief. The small group of figures, survivors, huddle near the base of the cliff, their forms indistinct against the monumental backdrop of rock and sea. Their clothes are still soaked, torn, clinging to their emaciated frames. Their faces, when you catch a glimpse, are gaunt, caked with salt, etched with raw terror and an even deeper, more profound spiritual exhaustion. You see a woman, her head bowed low, her lips moving in a silent, desperate prayer. Her fingers are interlocked so tightly her knuckles are white, pressing against her chest as if trying to hold a fragment of hope within. A man beside her simply stares out at the furious, churning sea, his eyes wide and vacant, beyond tears, beyond even the effort of a plea. No one speaks aloud. The roar of the sea is too immense, too overwhelming. But a different kind of sound is absent now, the collective murmur of hopeful prayer. Instead, there's a profound internal silence from these people. You watch another, an old man, his face a roadmap of suffering, raise his gnarled hands to the gray sky. He doesn't make a sound, doesn't utter a word. It's a gesture of profound, silent appeal, of ultimate surrender, offered into the vast, indifferent emptiness above. His hands hang there for a long moment, trembling slightly, before slowly, wearily, falling back to his side, unacknowledged, unheeded. You feel the cold grip of that unanswered gesture, that silent appeal, swallowed by the immensity of the elements. This isn't just about losing a ship, or home, or even life. This is about the profound, devastating abandonment of faith itself. When the very heavens seem to turn a deaf ear, when the storms rage and the promised hand of succor never appears, what then remains? You realize, with a chilling certainty that sinks deep into your bones, that the desolate shore isn't just a physical place, but a spiritual one, where hope itself has been shipwrecked, leaving humanity utterly, terrifyingly alone, not just from each other, but from the very presence they once believed watched over them. You feel the plush, yielding velvet of a curtain against your cheek, thick with the scent of stale perfume, beeswax, and a faint, unsettling metallic tang that hints at old blood. The air is warm, cloying, heavy, with the oppressive quiet of a place holding its breath. You hear the distant, irregular clatter of armor, a nervous cough, and the soft, almost imperceptible shuffling of feet beyond the closed doors. This is the sound of strained loyalty, of duty stretched thin. You are hidden in a shadowed alcove within a lavish royal chamber. Gold leaf gleams on every surface. Intricate tapestries depict heroic hunts and grand battles, and the floor is a mosaic of polished marble. But the opulence feels brittle, a thin veneer over a palpable tension. The light from the tall, narrow windows is weak, filtering through heavy crimson drapes, casting long, distorted shadows that dance like uneasy specters. At the center of the room, on a vast, ornate bed draped with more crimson velvet, lies a figure. This is the king. His face, once proud and commanding, is now pale and clammy, slick with a sheen of sweat. His eyes, wide and unfocused, dart wildly from one unseen horror to another, tracing patterns only he can perceive in the rich damask ceiling. His hands, once firm on a scepter, now pluck fretfully at the silken sheets. A ceaseless, restless motion. His crown, a heavy circlet of gold and jewels, sits askew on a nearby velvet cushion, a stark, mocking symbol of authority abandoned. A retinue of royal physicians and grim-faced guards stand clustered near the door, their postures rigid, their expressions a mixture of fear, frustration, and a deep, unsettling despair. Their glances are quick, darting between the king and each other, silent messages of futility passing between them. No one speaks above a whisper. The air hums with the unspoken dread of a kingdom adrift, of a power unraveling. You see a young page, his face pale, biting his lips so hard it almost bleeds, his eyes wide with a childish terror at the sight of his once mighty monarch reduced to this. The king suddenly lets out a high, keening whimper, a sound utterly devoid of majesty, a raw, primal cry of fear and confusion. He clutches at the air, as if trying to grasp at phantoms, his voice barely audible, whispering incoherent fragments, words that make no sense, tales of betrayals by unseen enemies, of loyalties crumbling to dust. He is lost within his own mind, adrift from the reality he once commanded. You feel a profound chill, not from cold, but from the unsettling unraveling of his very being. This isn't just about a sick ruler. It's about the terrifying abandonment of reason, of control, of the very foundation of his divine right to rule. A king, abandoned not by his subjects but by his own mind, is truly abandoned by all, leaving a chilling void where command and order once resided. The thick, cloying scent of stale perfume, sweat, and something faintly medicinal clings to the heavy velvet drapes around you, pressing in, making the air feel heavy and unmoving. You hear the king's ragged, shallow breathing, punctuated by soft, incoherent mumbles that twist into shapes of fear and confusion, a constant, unsettling undercurrent to the room's oppressive quiet. The polished marble floor beneath your feet offers no warmth, only a cool, unyielding surface that seems to reflect the chill in your own chest. You are still in the lavish royal chamber, but the rich tapestries and gold leaf now feel like a cruel mockery, a gilded stage for a tragedy. The weak light filtering through the crimson drapes casts long, wavering shadows, making the ornate furniture seem to shift and writhe at the edges of your vision. This place, once a bastion of power and divine authority, now feels like a tomb, alive only with the king's tormented spirit. The heavy silence between his mumbles is filled with the unspoken fear of those present, a tension so thick you could almost taste it, like bitter copper. The king lies tangled in the silken sheets, his once regal head thrashing weakly on the velvet pillow. His eyes, still wide and vacant, stare at the ceiling, seeing specters only he can perceive. His hands, though still plucking at the rich fabric, move with less frantic energy, more with a slow, despairing resignation, as if he's trying to catch hold of something that perpetually slips away. You notice the sheen of sweat on his brow, the faint tremor that runs through his body, a visible testament to the unseen battle raging within his mind. The symbols of his power, a discarded ring on a table, the opulent crown still askew, lie inanimate, utterly useless against this internal foe. Around the edges of the room, the royal physicians stand, their faces grim, their hands clasped uselessly before them. They offer hushed, meaningless reassurances to each other, their whispers like dry leaves rustling in an autumn wind. Priests robed in solemn black move with a quiet, somber tread, offering low, hurried prayers in Latin, their voices barely audible, more a ritualistic attempt to ward off the encroaching darkness than a genuine plea for intervention. You see one priest, his eyes downcast, nervously adjusting his stole, his movements betraying a profound helplessness. They are performing their duties, but their gestures are empty, their power as ineffective as the king's own dwindling reason. You feel the collective weight of their impotence, a heavy cloak of despair settling over the room. The king, anointed by God, believed to be his chosen vessel, is now utterly beyond their reach, beyond the reach of prayer, medicine, or even his own authority. His royal status, his divine right, offer no shield against the profound mental desolation that consumes him. He is still the king, in name, but his spirit is exiled, alone in a realm no one else can enter, a prisoner in his own mind. You realize with a chilling certainty that cuts through the cloying air that the most terrifying form of abandonment isn't just losing your position or your power, but losing yourself. To be anointed and yet utterly abandoned by your own mind, to be surrounded by reverence yet utterly alone in your suffering, is a desolation beyond any earthly measure. It's the ultimate, terrifying proof that some voids are so personal, so profound, that no divine right, no human intervention, can ever truly fill them. You feel a raw, searing ache in your stomach, a hollow, insistent gnawing that has become a constant companion. The air, thin and cold, carries the faint, almost taunting scent of distant wood smoke, but it's mixed with something else. The sickly sweet odor of desperation, of bodies weakened and hope fading. Your tongue feels thick and rough, your mouth dry, and a persistent, phantom taste of ash lingers on your palate. The ground beneath your worn boots is hard, frozen earth, offering no comfort, only the stark reality of its unyielding surface. You are in a village square, but it's unlike any market you've known. No bustling vendors, no lively chatter. Here the silence is profound, broken only by the thin, rasping cough of an unseen child, or the distant, mournful lowing of a skeletal cow. The timbered houses, usually bustling with life, stand like hollowed-out eyesores, their windows dark, their doors mostly shut, offering no sign of welcoming warmth. The sky above is a vast, unyielding canvas of gray, pressing down on a world stripped bare of its bounty. Figures move in slow motion, like ghosts. They are gaunt, their faces hollowed, eyes sunken, their skin stretched tight over prominent cheekbones. Their clothes hang loosely on their skeletal frames, flapping gently in the cold breeze. Every movement is a careful, deliberate expenditure of precious energy, a testament to the gnawing hunger that consumes them. There's a profound stillness in their movements, a quiet desperation that screams louder than any cry. You see a mother, her arms wrapped around a thin, silent child, her eyes fixed on the empty horizon, a gaze that holds an entire world of pain and unanswered questions. There are no shouts, no pleas for food, only the quiet, universal language of physical suffering. When two people pass, their eyes meet, not with recognition or greeting, but with a shared, wordless understanding of the same endless emptiness. A bony dog, once a lively companion, now sniffs at the frozen earth, its ribs starkly visible, its tail tucked low, a mirroring image of the human despair. You feel the cold grip of that collective hunger, a chilling understanding of how basic needs, when unmet, can strip away everything else, leaving only raw, primal instinct. You instinctively press your own hand to your stomach, feeling the familiar, hollow ache, and a wave of profound empathy washes over you, cold and sharp as the winter air. This isn't just about the absence of food. It's about the terrifying abandonment by the earth itself, by the seasons, by the very promise of sustenance. It's the silent, crushing realization that the natural world, which once provided, can turn its back, leaving humanity utterly, terrifyingly alone to face the slow, agonizing process of its own demise. The silence here isn't peaceful. It's the silence of life being slowly drained away, unheard, unheeded. The air is a brutal assault, cutting through your thin cloak with an icy precision, carrying a faint, cloying sweetness, a metallic tang, and an undeniable scent of decay that makes your stomach clench even tighter. You feel the brittle stalks of long dead crops crunch under your worn boots, each step a dry, rasping sound in the profound quiet. The ground is iron hard, frozen solid, offering no give, no softness, only the unyielding resistance of a world stripped bare. You stand on what was once a fertile field, stretching out under a vast, unyielding canvas of gray sky. This isn't just barren. It's a landscape of brutal finality. The rows of last year's harvest are now only broken, skeletal remains, mere whispers of a life that failed to thrive. Patches of thin, coarse grass, yellowed and stiff, cling desperately to the unforgiving soil, yielding nothing. The distant line of skeletal trees seems to mourn in silence, their bare branches etched like claw marks against the desolate horizon. Figures move here, not with purpose, but with a slow, laborious shuffle. They are scarecrows come to life, their frames impossibly thin, their skin stretched tight over prominent bones. Their eyes, sunken and shadowed, scan the ground with a desperate, hopeless intensity. There's a profound, chilling quiet to their movements, broken only by the sharp, hungry caw of a raven circling high above, a grim sentinel. You watch a woman, her face a mask of gaunt weariness, slowly, painstakingly, try to turn over a patch of frozen earth with a shard of wood, her movements weak, futile. Her breath mists in the frigid air, each exhalation a visible struggle. And then you see them. Not just hints, but undeniable evidence. Scattered amongst the brittle stalks, half buried by wind-blown dust and frozen mud, are fragments of what once lived. A small, delicate rib bone, bleached white and smooth, lies beside a tangle of dry roots. Further on, a larger, more distinct shape, the curve of a skull, small and hollow, its empty eye sockets staring up at the indifferent sky. The realization hits you like a physical blow. This field, meant to bear grain, has become a harvest of bones. No cries, no laments, just the cold, silent truth laid bare on the frozen earth. You feel the coldness seep deeper, not just from the wind, but from the brutal clarity of this scene. The silence here is immense, suffocating, a testament to the lives that ended not with ceremony, but with a quiet, unremarked collapse onto the unyielding ground. The earth, which once sustained, has now claimed everything back, offering no mercy, no burial, just a slow, cold return to dust. You grasp, with a chilling certainty that sinks into your very soul, that this isn't merely the end of a life. It's the ultimate, terrifying abandonment by the world itself, where even the promise of a grave is denied, leaving nothing but forgotten bones under an unseeing sky, a final, brutal testament to an existence that simply, quietly, ceased to matter. You feel the biting damp cold of ancient stone seeping through your thick tunic, chilling you to the bone. The air is heavy with the scent of old parchment, stale ink, and a faint, persistent odor of mold that tickles the back of your throat. A profound, echoing silence presses in from all sides, broken only by the faint, rhythmic scratch of a quill on vellum. A small, insistent sound that seems immense in the stillness. You are in a scriptorium, a monastic writing room. The light is dim and grudging, filtering in through narrow, high-set windows, barely illuminating the heavy wooden tables and tall, precarious stacks of books. Shadows cling to every corner, making the vast space feel both cavernous and claustrophobic. The cold is pervasive, a constant, unwelcome presence that seems to deepen the silence and sharpen the senses. Your fingers, already numb, ache with the chill. At one of the tables, hunched over a large, bound text, sits a solitary figure. He is a scribe, his cowl pulled low over his head, his face illuminated by the flickering, uncertain glow of a single beeswax candle. His hands, gnarled and stained with ink, move with a slow, meticulous precision, guiding the quill across the page. His breath mists faintly in the cold air, a visible testament to the laborious nature of his task. You see the deep lines of concentration etched around his eyes, the slight tremor in his hand, a silent battle fought against the elements and the relentless demands of his work. He is utterly absorbed, lost in the delicate dance of ink and parchment. There is no one else in the vast room, no shared warmth, no comforting presence. The only sound is his quill, a dry, whisper-like scratch that seems to etch not just words, but time itself onto the page. You feel the profound isolation of his work, a solitary endeavor carried out in a world that offers little comfort or companionship. His movements are almost robotic, a ritual performed in isolation, a quiet act of preservation against an encroaching darkness. You look around the silent room, at the heavy, ancient books, at the blank pages waiting to be filled. You realize that this scribe, and countless others like him, are the last line of defense against utter oblivion, painstakingly copying texts that few will ever read, preserving knowledge that the world outside seems to have forgotten or never even knew. They are the guardians of memory, toiling in the cold and the dark, often without recognition or hope of reward. You grasp, with a chilling certainty that settles deep in your bones, that this isn't just about the preservation of words. It's about the terrifying abandonment of knowledge, of enlightenment, of the very light of understanding, left to flicker precariously in the solitude of these cold, dark rooms. It's a profound testament to a world that has, in its indifference, quietly abandoned its own wisdom, leaving only a few dedicated souls to desperately hold onto the fragile threads of memory against the encroaching silence. You feel the dry, papery touch of an ancient scroll beneath your fingertips, so brittle and fragile it crackles with every subtle movement, threatening to crumble into dust. The air around you is thick, heavy with the scent of decaying parchment, a musty, bitter aroma that speaks of forgotten ages, and the slow, inevitable creep of oblivion. It's a smell that feels old, profoundly old, settling deep in your lungs and leaving a faint, dry taste on your tongue. You are in a forgotten corner of the scriptorium, far from the busy tables where the scribes meticulously work. Here the light is even dimmer, almost swallowed by the oppressive shadows that cling to towering shelves laden with disused books and rolls of vellum. It's a graveyard of knowledge, a silent testament to the vast ocean of human thought that has slipped through the grasp of time. The cold here feels different, not just physical, but a spiritual chill that emanates from the forgotten words, from the immense, silent gaps in understanding. You pull a heavy leather-bound volume from a shelf, its weight surprising, its binding cracked and warped. Dust motes, thick and ancient, plume into the weak light, dancing like tiny ghosts before settling back into the pervasive quiet. You carefully open the book, and the pages within are a kaleidoscope of fading ink, some passages almost entirely vanished, others stained with the damp, their words bleeding into illegible smudges. The script is unfamiliar, intricate, a language that was once vibrant and alive, now struggling for its very existence on these brittle sheets. You try to decipher a faded passage, squinting in the gloom, but the effort is immense, the meaning elusive, a whisper almost entirely swallowed by time. You turn page after laborious page, a quiet despair growing within you. Here, a section is missing, torn out by time or neglect. There, an entire chapter is fused, glued together by centuries of damp, its secrets forever sealed. You see the faint, deliberate strokes of a long-dead scribe, his singular effort, now largely undone. The profound silence of the room isn't just the absence of sound. It's the silence of countless voices extinguished, of arguments unread, of discoveries unshared, of stories untold. It's the silence of an entire world, once vibrant with thought, now reduced to these fragile, decaying whispers. You slowly close the ancient book, the faint thud echoing in the vast still space. You run your hand over its worn cover, feeling the smooth, cold texture of forgotten history. The air, though stagnant, feels charged with the presence of all that has been lost, a profound, intellectual void. You realize, with a chilling certainty that settles deep in your bones, that this isn't just about losing a few books or documents. It's about the terrifying abandonment of an entire intellectual heritage, a profound severing from the wisdom and understanding of those who came before. We are left adrift, not just from the past, but from all the futures those lost ideas might have created, forever alone in the vast, echoing silence of a world that chose, or was forced, to forget. The air hits you, not with a scent, but with a sudden, overwhelming cacophony. It's a brutal symphony. The distant, percussive thud of siege engines, the sharp, metallic clang of steel on steel, the raw, terrified screams of men, and beneath it all, the low, persistent rumble of 1,000 anxious heartbeats vibrating through the very stones beneath your feet. The taste in your mouth is acrid, metallic, like fear itself, and your throat feels tight, choked with dust, and an unspoken terror. You are standing atop a towering stone battlements, the rough, cold stone pressing against your worn leather gloves. Below you the city stretches out, a maze of narrow streets and huddled rooftops, now a frantic beehive of activity. People rush, not with purpose, but with a desperate, undirected energy, their movements quick and jerky. The sky above is a grim, overcast gray, occasionally streaked with the dark plumes of smoke rising from distant fires, painting a desolate backdrop to the unfolding horror. Beyond the city walls, the land is a churning sea of enemy encampments, thousands of figures like ants swarming around the great ominous silhouettes of siege towers and battering rams. The air hums with the relentless tension of imminent destruction. You see soldiers, their faces grim and streaked with sweat, hauling heavy rocks, shouting strained commands, their voices thin against the roar of battle. A man next to you, clutching a bow, his knuckles white, scans the horizon with wide, terrified eyes, his breath coming in ragged gasps. There's a profound sense of shared doom, a collective understanding that their fate, for better or worse, is sealed. The thud of another rock from a catapult lands with a sickening crunch somewhere within the city, sending a fresh wave of panicked cries echoing up towards you. You feel the tremor in the walls, a deep, unsettling vibration that speaks of the city's fragility, its vulnerability. The incessant, grinding noise of the approaching siege engines is a psychological weapon, a constant reminder of the relentless, unstoppable force gathering outside. Every instinct screams at you to flee, to find cover, but there is nowhere to go. The walls, once a symbol of protection, now feel like a trap. You watch as a small group of civilians, women and children, are herded into a church, their faces pale, their eyes wide with uncomprehending fear, their low wails barely audible amidst the din. You realize with a chilling certainty that settles deep in your bones that this isn't just a battle for territory. It's a profound existential abandonment. The city, once a sanctuary, is now besieged, cut off, utterly alone against an overwhelming force. Their cries for help, their desperate prayers, are swallowed by the roar of battle, unheard by any external power. This is the terrifying reality of being utterly forsaken, left to face a determined, unyielding enemy, with no hope of reprieve, just the deafening symphony of your own impending destruction. The air is thick with a nauseating cocktail of dust, smoke, and the metallic tang of drying blood, a smell that clings to your tongue and invades your very pores. You feel the grit of pulverized stone and ash crunching beneath your boots, each step a morbid symphony in the pervasive silence. The ground is still warm in places from recent fires, but a deeper spiritual cold has settled, a profound chill that seems to emanate from the very heart of the devastated city. You walk through streets that were once bustling, now reduced to a landscape of ruin. Buildings stand as hollowed-out shells, their timbered frames charred and skeletal, their roofs collapsed into gaping wounds. The sky above, though clear now, seems impossibly vast and indifferent, its blue a stark, almost cruel contrast to the devastation below. Rubble is everywhere, forming grotesque mounds that block pathways and bury secrets. The silence is the most profound horror. It's not the quiet of peace, but the echoing, suffocating silence of absolute desolation. No cries, no shouts, no distant murmur of daily life. Only the occasional creak of a cooling beam, the gentle sift of ash in the unseen breeze, and the chilling, persistent buzz of flies. You see figures here and there, but they are not the living. They lie contorted amidst the rubble, their forms eerily still, covered in dust and ash, their faces frozen in expressions of surprise or terror. A child's doll, dropped and forgotten, lies face down in a puddle of muddy water, a stark, heartbreaking punctuation mark in the widespread destruction. You pass what was once a grand church, now just a skeletal outline, its stained glass windows shattered into countless glittering fragments that catch the sun like bitter tears. Inside, the altar is overturned, the holy relics scattered, desecrated. The silence here feels even heavier, a betrayal of sanctuary, a profound void where prayers once rose. You feel a deep, aching emptiness in your chest, a sense of loss so immense it feels personal. The sun begins to dip towards the horizon, casting long, mournful shadows across the ruins, painting the devastation in hues of orange and deep red, like a bleeding wound. You realize that this isn't just a city conquered. It's a world annihilated. There are no victors here, only survivors of the silence. The absence of human sound is a testament to lives abruptly ended, hopes brutally extinguished. You grasp, with a chilling certainty that sinks deep into your soul, that this isn't merely the destruction of stone and timber. It's the ultimate, terrifying abandonment of an entire community. A brutal severing from the living world, leaving only echoes and ash under an indifferent sky. The profound silence is the final, crushing proof that when a city falls, it falls not just into ruin, but into an utter, unheeded oblivion. You feel the rough, cold stone of the dungeon wall against your back, its surface damp and slick with an unseen moisture that chills you to the bone. The air is thick with the metallic tang of old iron, the musty scent of damp straw, and an underlying, pervasive odor of human despair. Your mouth tastes of dust and regret, and your throat feels tight, constricted by an invisible hand. The silence is absolute, a heavy, suffocating blanket that presses down on your very soul, broken only by the distant, rhythmic drip of water somewhere in the oppressive darkness. You are in a deep, subterranean cell, a stone box barely large enough to stand in. The only light is a faint, grudging sliver that filters through a narrow, grimy grate high above, casting long, distorted shadows that dance like mocking specters on the cold, bare walls. The floor is packed earth, cold and unforgiving, offering no comfort. Every shadow seems to conceal a new, unseen torment. In the center of the cell, a solitary figure sits slumped against the far wall. He is a knight, but the proud armor that once adorned him is now stripped away, replaced by coarse, stained tunic and breeches. His hands, once accustomed to the weight of a sword, are now chained, heavy iron manacles biting into his wrists, tethering him to a ring set low in the stone. His head is bowed, his face obscured by a tangle of unkempt hair, but you feel the immense weight of his posture, the profound, almost tangible aura of defeat that emanates from him. Beside him, discarded and broken, lies a tarnished, dented breastplate, its once gleaming surface now scarred and dull. The hilt of a sword, snapped clean from its blade, rests against the wall, a cruel monument to a failed promise. These are the tools of his trade, now rendered useless, symbols of a valor that has been irrevocably shattered. There's no sound from him, no cry, no lament, just the heavy, persistent silence of profound despair. You feel a profound chill emanating from him, a coldness that penetrates beyond the physical. This isn't just about imprisonment, it's about the shattering of identity, the brutal destruction of honor. He has been abandoned, not just by his comrades or his king, but by the very code that defined his existence. His broken sword, his tarnished armor. They are tangible proof of a failure so profound it has stripped him of all worth. He is a knight without chivalry, a warrior without a battle, a man utterly alone in the wreckage of his own honor. You realize with a chilling certainty that settles deep in your bones that the most terrifying form of abandonment isn't just external. It's the internal severing, the profound loss of self that leaves you a hollowed-out shell, trapped with nothing but the echoing silence of your own broken spirit. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth, stale metal, and the profound lingering odor of human fear, a smell that clogs your throat and makes your eyes water. You feel the rough, unyielding rock beneath your back, its cold, slick surface radiating a chill that settles deep in your bones. A constant, unwelcome companion. The silence is absolute, a heavy, suffocating blanket that presses down on your very soul, broken only by the distant, irregular drip of water somewhere in the oppressive darkness. A sound that amplifies the immense quiet. You are still in the subterranean cell, a stone box barely large enough to move in, a world reduced to cold, unyielding surfaces. The faint sliver of light from the high grate above seems to mock the darkness, barely illuminating the desolate scene. Every shadow feels like a living thing, an unseen torment, lurking just beyond your sight. The packed earth floor is cold and unforgiving, offering no comfort, no warmth. The knight remains slumped against the far wall, his body a picture of utter defeat. His head is still bowed, but now, with a slow, agonizing effort, he lifts his gaze. His eyes, when they meet yours in the dim light, are hollow, devoid of any spark of defiance or hope. They hold a profound, aching emptiness, a silent testament to a spirit utterly broken. His face, gaunt and unshaven, is streaked with dirt and what might be dried tears, but there's no active weeping, only the dry, desolate calm of profound despair. His lips are cracked, his breathing shallow, a weak, almost imperceptible whisper in the oppressive quiet. His chained hands, once capable of wielding a mighty sword, now lie limp in his lap, the heavy iron manacles dark against his pale skin, symbols of a captivity that extends far beyond the physical. Beside him, the broken breastplate and snapped sword are stark reminders of a shattered past, of a warrior's honor irrevocably lost. He is not just a prisoner. He is an exile, banished from the very essence of who he once was. You feel the profound desolation radiating from him, a spiritual wound deeper than any physical pain. This isn't merely the loss of freedom, it's the systematic stripping away of dignity, of purpose, of the very narratives that give life meaning. He has been abandoned by his oath, by his code, by the very world that once held him in esteem. His silence isn't just about the absence of sound. It's the silence of a man with nothing left to say, nothing left to fight for, nothing left to believe in. You realize, with a chilling certainty that settles deep in your bones, that the most terrifying form of abandonment isn't just being left alone in a cell. It's being left alone with the knowledge that everything you stood for, everything you believed in, has been utterly broken, leaving you in an honorless exile, a void so complete it swallows even the echoes of your former self. He is a ghost in his own body, a profound, unheeded testament to what happens when not just life but identity itself is abandoned. The bitter, piercing wind tears at your cloak, carrying with it the undeniable stench of decay, a sickly sweet metallic odor that catches in your throat and makes your stomach clench. It's mixed with the raw scent of damp earth and something acrid, almost like old, dried tears. You feel the cold, hard ground pressing through your worn boots, each crunch of frozen grass, a sharp protest against the pervasive chill. The sky above is a uniform, oppressive gray, pressing down on a landscape stripped bare, devoid of warmth or color. You are on a desolate, windswept hill, a place where no comfort seems to linger. In the center, stark against the bruised sky, stands a tall, crude gibbet, its timbers dark and weathered, groaning faintly in the relentless wind. From its crossbeam, a figure hangs, a gaunt, twisted shape, swaying gently, a grim, public spectacle. The air around it feels heavy, charged with a profound, unsettling stillness, as if the very world holds its breath in morbid observation. At the base of this grim structure, a solitary figure kneels. She is a woman, shrouded in a threadbare dark cloak, pulled tight around her head to shield her from the biting wind. Her back is to you, her posture rigid, a fragile anchor in the vast emptiness. Her hands are clasped tightly together, resting on the frozen earth, and her body, though still, seems to vibrate with an immense, unspoken grief. She doesn't move, doesn't cry out, doesn't offer any audible lament. Her presence itself is a statement, a silent vigil in a place of utter desolation. No one else is here. The path leading up to the hill is empty, a clear, unspoken boundary around this site of public judgment. The world has kept its distance, leaving this woman utterly alone with her sorrow, a testament to her unyielding loyalty. You feel the profound weight of her silent watch, the chilling understanding of a love that defies even the most brutal forms of abandonment. Her gaze, you know, is fixed on the hanged figure, a connection that death and public shame cannot sever. The wind whips around you, seeming to carry her silent defiance, and you shiver, not just from the cold, but from the raw, exposed emotion. This isn't just about a body swinging in the wind. It's about the brutal severing of all ties, the ultimate public declaration of being cast out, forgotten. Yet, in this desolate place, this woman stands, refusing to let that final abandonment take root. You realize, with a chilling clarity that settles deep in your bones, that while the world may abandon and justice may condemn, sometimes a stubborn, unwavering loyalty can defy even the finality of the gibbet, a solitary refusal to let a loved one be utterly, irrevocably alone. The wind is a relentless, physical assault, whipping past your ears with a mournful howl, carrying with it the undeniable stench of decay, a sickly sweet, metallic odor that catches in your throat and invades your very being. It's mixed with a raw scent of damp earth and the biting cold that seems to penetrate your very bones. You feel the rough, frozen ground pressing through your worn boots, each tiny shard of ice and rock a sharp reminder of the world's brutal indifference. The sky above is a uniform, bruised gray, heavy and oppressive, a vast, unyielding ceiling to a scene of profound despair. You are still on that desolate, windswept hill, facing the stark, crude gibbet. The figure hanging from its crossbeams sways gently, a grotesque dance in the relentless wind, a silent, public testament to the finality of judgment. The air around it feels thick, charged with a palpable tension, a profound stillness that seems to amplify the wind's mournful cries. The solitary woman, shrouded in her threadbare dark cloak, remains kneeling at the base of the gibbet. Her back is still to you, but now a subtle shift in her posture. Her head slowly, agonizingly lifts. Her gaze, you know, is fixed on the hanged figure, a connection that transcends death and public shame. Her body, though still, now radiates a different energy, no longer just grief, but a simmering, fierce rage that seems to pulse visibly in the desolate air. Her hands, which were clasped in silent prayer, slowly uncurl, her fingers splaying open to the cold, unforgiving sky. And then it comes. Not a cry of pain, not a wail of sorrow, but a deep guttural sound, a primal, choked sob that rips from her chest and is immediately torn away by the wind, but it's followed by another, and another, growing in intensity, until it's not merely a sob, but a raw, inarticulate roar of defiance. Her head tilts back further. Her face, though obscured by her hood, seems to be turned directly upwards, towards the heavy, indifferent sky. She curses, not with words you can clearly distinguish, but with every fiber of her being, with the sheer unadulterated force of her broken heart. It's a sound of ultimate rejection, of furious, unyielding condemnation hurled at a heaven that offered no succor, no mercy, no intervention. Her body shakes with the force of her unleashed fury, a small, defiant figure challenging the vast, uncaring cosmos. You feel the profound shock of her anger, a chilling recognition of a spirit pushed beyond endurance. This isn't just grief, it's the absolute shattering of all faith, all hope. You feel the coldness of her unbridled rage, a freezing fire that burns away all remnants of submission. This isn't just about losing a loved one to the hangman's noose. It's about the terrifying abandonment of all divine promise, of all cosmic justice, of the comforting illusion that someone, somewhere, is watching, intervening. In that moment, she is utterly alone, not just from humanity, but from the heavens themselves. Her furious curse, a final, definitive severing. You realize, with a chilling certainty that sinks deep into your soul, that the most terrifying form of abandonment is when you are left so utterly alone, so profoundly betrayed, that your only remaining act is to curse the very sky, abandoning your faith as it has abandoned you. A sharp, acrid scent, like burnt sugar mixed with metallic smoke, stings your nostrils, making your eyes water and a dry cough catch in your throat. You feel the heat radiating from multiple sources, a dry, oppressive warmth that clings to your skin, even as the air around you feels strangely still and heavy. Beneath your worn boots, the floor is uneven, gritty with spilled powders and the persistent, faint crunch of dried herbs. You are in a cramped, cluttered room, an alchemist's workshop. Every surface is laden with strange, intricate apparatus, bubbling retorts, glowing braziers, alembics twisting into impossible shapes, all casting flickering, distorted shadows that dance wildly across the rough stone walls. Glass vials, filled with liquids of improbable colors, deep emeralds, murky purples, viscous golds. Line shelves, catching the meager light from a single grimy window high above. The air here feels thick, heavy with the weight of unfulfilled ambitions and countless failed experiments. At the center of this chaotic symphony of glass and flame, hunched over a particularly large, bubbling crucible, is a solitary figure. He is the alchemist. His face is pale and gaunt, streaked with soot and sweat, illuminated by the orange glow from the fire beneath his concoction. His eyes, though bloodshot and weary, burn with an almost desperate, feverish intensity, fixed unblinkingly on the swirling, iridescent fumes rising from his brew. His hands, gnarled and stained, constantly adjust the flames, stir the liquid with a long, metal rod, or add another pinch of shimmering powder, each movement precise, practiced, yet infused with a palpable anxiety. The fumes themselves are a shifting, swirling curtain of vapor, changing from a dull gray to a sickly yellow, then a brief, tantalizing shimmer of gold before collapsing back into an inert, smoky gray. You feel a wave of dizziness as you inhale, a phantom taste of failure settling on your tongue. He watches, breath held, for that elusive golden flash, that single transformative spark, but it never quite materializes. His shoulders slump, almost imperceptibly, as the fumes return to their dull state, a familiar sag of profound disappointment that has become a constant companion. He doesn't acknowledge you, doesn't even register your presence. He is utterly alone in his pursuit, locked in an endless, solitary battle with the unyielding laws of nature. You see the deep lines of obsession etched around his mouth, the almost manic determination that pushes him forward, even in the face of relentless futility. His movements grow a little slower, his hands a little heavier, yet he continues, stirring, adjusting, adding, caught in an unending loop of hopeful expectation and crushing letdown. You realize, with a chilling certainty that sinks deep into your bones, that this isn't just about failing to turn lead into gold. It's about a profound, existential abandonment. The universe itself refuses to yield its secrets. The very principles of creation remain stubbornly indifferent to his desperate pleas and endless toil. He is abandoned by success, by recognition, by the fundamental laws of existence that he so desperately tries to bend. His life is a testament to the chilling truth that sometimes the most terrifying abandonment isn't by people, but by the very fabric of reality itself, leaving you to chase shadows and breathe the fumes of eternal futility, utterly alone in your relentless, unheeded quest. The sharp, metallic tang of burnt chemicals and stale experiments still stings your nostrils, mingling with a deeper, more profound scent of utter futility. A smell that now seems to cling to your very clothes. You feel the grit of spilled powders and broken glass under your worn boots, each crunch a testament to countless failures. The air is heavy, thick with the weight of unfulfilled ambition, a suffocating presence that presses down on your chest. You are still in the alchemist's cramped, chaotic workshop, a world of bubbling retorts and flickering flames. But the previous frantic energy has now drained away, replaced by a chilling, profound stillness. The single, grimy window high above offers little light, and the shadows that dance on the rough stone walls seem deeper, more predatory, swallowing any glimmers of hope. The pervasive warmth from the braziers now feels oppressive, a feverish heat that offers no comfort. The alchemist is no longer hunched over his crucible. He stands a gaunt, defeated figure, his back to you, his shoulders slumped in a posture of complete resignation. His head is bowed, his gaze fixed on something on his cluttered workbench. You feel the profound exhaustion radiating from him, a weariness that goes beyond physical toil, deep into the very core of his being. His hands, once so precise, now hang limply at his sides, stained and scarred, but utterly devoid of purpose. On the workbench, catching the dim, flickering light from the dying brazier, is a small, heavy ingot. Not gold, not silver, just dull, unyielding lead. It sits there, cold and heavy, a brutal, undeniable monument to his relentless, decades-long failure. The alchemist slowly, almost imperceptibly, reaches out a finger, tracing the rough, unyielding surface of the lead. His movement is a final, wordless acknowledgement of defeat, a silent acceptance of the universe's unshakable indifference. There is no anger in him now, no frustrated shouts, only the vast, empty quiet of absolute despair. The silence that fills the room is immense, suffocating, deeper than any you've experienced. It's the silence of a life's work utterly, finally, and irrevocably abandoned. The bubbling has ceased. The flames in the braziers flicker lower, casting longer, more grotesque shadows, and the air cools, leaving behind a profound chill that emanates not from the elements, but from the spirit of the defeated man. He has been abandoned by the promise of discovery, by the lure of transformation, by the very hope that drove him. You realize with a chilling certainty that settles deep in your bones that this isn't just about a failed experiment. It's about the ultimate, terrifying abandonment of purpose itself, of the driving force that gives life meaning. He sought to transform base metal into gold, but instead his soul has been transmuted by relentless failure into something heavy, cold, and as unyielding as the lead before him. His silence is the sound of a spirit broken, of a quest ended not in triumph, but in a profound, unheeded despair, leaving him utterly, tragically alone with the inerasable lead of his own abandoned dreams. The air hits you, thick and close, with a heavy, distinct scent, a blend of stale cooking fires, tightly packed humanity, unwashed wool, and a faint underlying acridness of old stone. It's an aroma unique to places where life is compressed, intense, and constantly recycled. You feel the rough, uneven cobbles under your worn boots, slick in places with unseen dampness, their narrowness forcing you to walk shoulder to shoulder with anonymous forms. The persistent, low hum of 1,000 confined lives murmurs all around, a rhythmic breathing of the community, yet it feels muffled, trapped by thick walls, unable to truly escape. You are walking through the heart of a ghetto, a world carved out of the larger city yet utterly distinct. Overhead, the sky is a narrow, grudging ribbon of gray, framed by the tall, crooked buildings that lean precariously inwards, almost touching at their upper stories. Shadows cling to every corner, every archway, deepening the sense of perpetual twilight. There's a constant, subtle eddying of movement, a tightly woven dance of bodies in these perpetually crowded lanes. No grand squares, no expansive vistas here, just an endless series of narrow passages, each one echoing with its own contained existence. People move with a particular rhythm here. Their steps are quick, purposeful, yet always mindful of the limited space. They navigate the labyrinthine streets with a practiced ease, a silent choreography born of necessity. You see faces etched with a shared weariness, a deep-seated caution, but also an undeniable spark of resilience, a quiet defiance in their eyes. Children play in small, sun-dappled patches, their laughter thin and quick, swiftly absorbed by the towering stone. When eyes meet, it's not always with warmth, but with a profound, knowing recognition, a silent acknowledgement of a shared fate, a common bond. As you reach the end of a street, Your path is abruptly blocked by a massive, iron-studded wooden gate, taller than any house, formidable and unyielding. It stands firmly shut, a brutal, undeniable barrier against the outside world. Heavy chains, thick as a man's arm, are wrapped around its sturdy posts, secured with an imposing, rust-pitted padlock. High above, on a narrow walkway built into the city wall, you glimpse a guard, his form silhouetted against the gray sky, his gaze sweeping over the confined streets with detached, official vigilance. He is the constant, silent reminder of the enforced boundary, of the world that keeps its distance, that keeps them in. You feel the cold, unyielding iron of the gate beneath your touch, radiating a chilling truth that sinks deep into your bones. This isn't a natural boundary. It's a deliberate, societal abandonment, a physical manifestation of an ideology that has deemed an entire community to be an outsider. They are not merely separated, they are quarantined, confined, deliberately isolated from the bustling life beyond these towering walls. Their existence is a constant, stark testament to being perpetually othered, left to forge their own world within echoing stone walls, a world that is seen, but pointedly, irrevocably, unreached by the larger society, leaving them profoundly, collectively alone in their designated space. The air is thick, close and humid, carrying the heavy scent of old spices, cooking fires, and the unmistakable, lingering aroma of tightly packed humanity. You feel the rough, worn stone of the synagogue wall under your hand, cool and ancient, absorbing the vibrant energy of the lives pressed against it. A low, rhythmic murmur of voices, a mix of hushed conversations and chanted prayers, pulses through the confined space, a living heartbeat trapped within towering walls. You stand within the heart of the ghetto's synagogue, a place built not for ostentatious display, but for resilient faith. The light is soft and warm, filtering through small, intricate windows, casting patterns of gentle illumination onto the worn wooden benches and the earnest faces of the congregation. Every surface, though simple, seems imbued with a profound history, a testament to generations of unwavering belief held firm against an indifferent, often hostile, world. People sit and stand, a dense tapestry of humanity, their shoulders almost touching. Their faces are a mixture of deep concentration, quiet weariness, and a shared, profound devotion. Their eyes, when they meet yours, hold a quiet strength, a wisdom born of enduring much. Old men with long white beards sway gently, their lips moving in silent prayer, their hands tracing familiar words in ancient texts. Women, their heads covered, listen with bowed heads, their presence a silent anchor of community. You feel the deep, resonant connection between them, a collective spirit forged in shared adversity. The chanted prayers, ancient and timeless, rise and fall, filling the space with a mournful, yet defiant, beauty. You listen, your own breath catching in your throat, trying to decipher the sacred words, feeling the weight of their history, the generations of hopes and fears poured into these very phrases. Their voices are not loud, not demanding, but persistent, a steady, unwavering plea sent upwards, through the heavy timbers of the ceiling, through the narrow slit of sky above the ghetto, into the vast, unknowable heavens. There is no expectation of an immediate answer, No sudden miracle, only the profound, unwavering act of calling out, of remembering, of refusing to be forgotten. You feel the profound weight of those unanswered prayers, not as a sign of weakness, but as a testament to an indomitable spirit. This isn't just about ritual. It's about a people who have learned to live with a God whose presence is often felt more in absence than in intervention, a divine abandonment that forces them to rely on each other, on their shared traditions, on their own resilience. You realize with a chilling certainty that resonates deeply that the most terrifying form of abandonment isn't always silence. Sometimes, it's a persistent, unyielding silence in the face of centuries of cries, a profound, almost cosmic detachment that forces humanity to create its own warmth, its own connection, its own meaning, utterly alone yet defiantly together, within the echoing walls of their unanswered faith. The air bites at your exposed skin, thin and sharp, carrying only the raw, untamed scent of rock, dry earth, and a profound, desolate emptiness. You feel the jagged edges of loose stones beneath your worn boots, each step a precarious balance on the unforgiving ground. A relentless, cold wind whispers past your ears, a mournful, drawn-out sigh that seems to carry no warmth, no promise, only an endless, ancient lament. You are in a vast, barren wasteland, a landscape of stark, gray rock formations and scattered, tenacious patches of scrub brush that cling desperately to life. The sky above is an immense, unyielding dome of pale gray stretching to a horizon that seems to offer no escape, no comforting boundary. This is a place stripped bare, devoid of the familiar comforts of civilization, a world of relentless, uncompromising austerity. At the base of a particularly gnarled, wind-scoured rock face, you discern a small, almost imperceptible opening. A cave. And before it, a solitary figure sits, motionless as the stones around him. He is a hermit, clad in rough, patched sackcloth, his frame gaunt and stoic. His head is bowed, his face obscured by a thick, matted beard, but you feel the immense stillness emanating from him, a quietude born not of peace, but of profound self-imposed isolation. He is a part of the landscape, as ancient and unyielding as the rock itself. His hands, gnarled and weathered, rest open in his lap, palms upturned to the indifferent sky, a gesture not of supplication, but of profound, empty acceptance. There are no tools around him, no possessions, nothing to tie him to the material world, only the raw, unadulterated presence of his own being. You feel the profound silence around him, a stillness that seems to absorb all sound, all thought, all desire. It's the quiet of a life deliberately stripped bare, a profound, ascetic abandonment of all human connection. He breathes slowly, deeply, each exhalation a faint plume in the cold air, a visible testament to his quiet existence. He seems to draw sustenance not from food or water, but from the very emptiness that surrounds him, from the profound, unyielding silence. You realize with a chilling certainty that settles deep in your bones that this isn't just about seeking God in solitude. It's about a radical, deliberate abandonment of the world. He has forsaken society, comfort, even the warmth of human touch, choosing instead a profound, chilling communion with absence. This isn't just a physical withdrawal. It's a spiritual one, a profound act of self-imposed abandonment. He exists on the furthest edge of human experience, a stark, living testament to a chosen isolation so complete, it makes all other forms of abandonment pale in comparison. He is utterly, uncompromisingly alone, an echo in the vast, indifferent wasteland. The air itself feels thin, rarefied, carrying only the raw, untamed scent of sun-baked rock and an immense, profound emptiness. You feel the sharp, granular sand and the abrasive edges of small stones beneath your worn boots, each step a dry, rasping sound that feels impossibly loud in the pervasive quiet. The sun above is a relentless, merciless eye, beating down from a vast, unyielding sky of washed-out blue, painting the landscape in stark, unforgiving shades of brown and ochre. You are in a boundless, sun-scorched desert, a landscape of endless rolling dunes and jagged, ancient rock formations. There are no trees, no rivers, no signs of thriving life. This is a place of profound absence, a world stripped bare of all but the most elemental forms of existence. The heat is dry and oppressive, clinging to your skin, slowly leaching all moisture from your body. The wind, when it occasionally stirs, kicks up fine, stinging sand, a dry, whispering sigh that speaks of vast, empty distances. The hermit remains at the mouth of his small cave, a tiny, defiant speck against the monumental indifference of the desert. He is still an unmoving silhouette clad in rough sackcloth, his frame gaunt, his head bowed. His hands remain open in his lap, palms upturned, not in prayer, but in an almost passive gesture of ultimate acceptance, as if waiting for a single grain of meaning to fall from the immense, empty sky. You feel the profound stillness radiating from him, a silence that seems to have absorbed all sound, all thought, all human desire, leaving only the raw, distilled essence of solitude. He does not stir, does not even seem to breathe. His gaze, if it is anywhere, is fixed on the shimmering, heat-hazed horizon, an endless expanse that offers no answers, no reprieve, no solace. There is no fire here, no warmth save the punishing sun, no water save the sweat that evaporates before it can offer comfort, no companionship save the endless, indifferent expanse of sand and sky. You feel a profound, aching emptiness in your own chest, a mirroring of the desolation that surrounds him. The sun begins its slow, relentless descent, painting the dunes in hues of fiery orange and deep violet, a brutal beauty. Yet no spiritual warmth descends with it. No divine voice whispers on the dry wind. No comforting presence touches the air. Only the immense, unwavering silence of the desert remains, a silence that seems to stretch into infinity, deeper than any human could comprehend. You realize with a chilling certainty that sinks deep into your bones that this isn't just about seeking God in solitude. It's about finding that the solitude is the only answer. He has abandoned the world, but in doing so he has found himself abandoned in turn, not by people but by the very divine presence he sought. This is the terrifying truth of existential abandonment. The profound, unyielding silence of a God who simply isn't there, leaving you utterly, irrevocably alone to face the vast, indifferent emptiness of the desert and of your own soul. The air in here is cool, damp, and smells deeply of rich, decaying earth, wet moss, and something else. A faint, ancient sweetness like sap and forgotten flowers that speaks of old magic. You feel the soft, yielding cushion of thick moss and fallen leaves beneath your worn boots, silencing your steps, making you feel like an intruder in a sacred space. A profound, hushed silence presses in from all sides, broken only by the gentle drip of water from unseen leaves and the soft, almost imperceptible rustle of the wind through the highest branches. You are deep within a sacred grove, a circle of immense ancient oak trees whose gnarled branches interlace high above, forming a vaulted living canopy that filters the sunlight into dappled ethereal shafts. The trees are colossal, their trunks draped in thick ivy, their roots twisting like enormous serpents across the forest floor. This isn't just a patch of woods. It's a living cathedral, steeped in an energy that feels primal and profound, a place where the ancient gods were once honored. At the very center of the grove, a solitary figure stands. He is an old man, his face a roadmap of deep wrinkles, his hair and beard as white and tangled as winter roots. He wears simple, homespun clothes, adorned with necklaces of carved wood and polished stones. His eyes, though clouded with age, hold a deep, distant knowledge, fixed on the ancient, moss-covered stone altar that stands before him. His hands, gnarled and trembling, slowly, carefully, arrange a small offering of wildflowers and dried berries on the cold stone. He moves with a profound reverence, each gesture a silent prayer, a deliberate echo of rituals performed for countless generations. There are no other people here, no shared worship, no communal chants. He is utterly alone in his devotion, a solitary keeper of a flame that now burns only within him. You feel the immense weight of his solitary faith, a chilling understanding of a tradition that has faded into near oblivion, leaving him as its last fragile custodian. The sun shifts, and a single shaft of light pierces the canopy, falling directly onto the old man, illuminating the dust motes dancing around his head like tiny spirits. He closes his eyes, his face upturned, absorbing the light, a silent communion with forces only he can still perceive. You feel the immense, heavy quiet that envelops him, a profound stillness that seems to absorb his prayers without a whisper of a reply, without a rustle from the ancient trees. You realize, with a chilling certainty that settles deep in your bones, that this isn't just about the decline of a religion. It's about the terrifying abandonment of an entire way of understanding the world, of a deep, ancient connection to the earth itself. He stands as the last remaining link, abandoned by his community, by his gods, and by the very spirit of the age. His devotion, though fervent, seems to echo into a vast, empty void, a profound, unheeded testament to a world that has quietly forgotten its ancient roots, leaving him utterly, tragically alone in his sacred grove, a silent prayer whispered to a generation of forgotten gods. The air here feels colder now, sharper, carrying only the raw scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, but the ancient sweetness, the hint of old magic, has faded, leaving a profound, almost sterile emptiness. You feel the rough bark of a colossal oak tree against your palm, its surface gnarled and unyielding, but the vibrant energy you sensed before is gone, replaced by a deep, unsettling stillness. A cold, distant wind whistles through the bare branches high above, a mournful, drawn-out sigh that seems to carry no warmth, no spirit, only an immense, ancient lament. You are still deep within the sacred grove, but it feels different now. The colossal trees, once radiating primal energy, now stand as mute, silent sentinels, their twisted roots no longer seeming like serpents but merely dead wood. The dappled light, which once felt ethereal, now simply filters through the canopy, cold and indifferent, illuminating nothing but dust and fading memories. This isn't a living cathedral anymore. It's a monument to a forgotten faith, a place where the gods once were and now are not. The old man remains at the center of the grove, a solitary figure, his posture a picture of profound, weary resignation. His hands, which carefully arrange the offerings, now rest limply in his lap, the dried wildflowers and berries scattered, already claimed by the insatiable earth. His eyes, though still open, hold a vacant, distant look, fixed on the moss-covered stone altar but seeing nothing, receiving no sign. He is utterly alone, a solitary guardian of a shrine that has become an empty stage. No one else arrives. No other footsteps approach. The quiet is absolute, a profound silence that seems to press in from all sides, deeper than any you've experienced. It's the quiet of a final departure, of an entire pantheon of deities having simply vanished. His prayers, which once felt potent, now seem to dissipate into the cold air, swallowed by the vast, unfeeling expanse. You feel the immense, heavy quiet that envelops him, a profound stillness that absorbs his last vestiges of hope, without a whisper of a reply, without a rustle from the ancient trees, without even a fleeting shadow of a god. You realize with a chilling certainty that settles deep in your bones that this isn't just about the decline of a specific religion or the death of its last devotee. It's about the terrifying abandonment of an entire world, a cosmic disenchantment. The very spirits that once inhabited the trees, the rivers, the stones, have simply retreated, leaving behind a husk of a world, beautiful yet empty, profound yet unresponsive. He is abandoned not just by his community or his specific gods, but by the very enchantment of existence, by the vibrant, interconnected spirit of the earth itself. His final, unheeded vigil is a poignant testament to a world that has become utterly, tragically alone, stripped of its magic, its mystery, its divine presence, leaving only the cold, indifferent silence of a disenchanted universe. The air hums around you, a persistent, low thrum that vibrates in your teeth and beneath your skin, a symphony of unseen machines and distant traffic. It carries the sharp, metallic tang of exhaust fumes, the faint sweetness of artificial air fresheners, and an underlying, unsettling smell of anonymous recycled air. Your tongue feels dry, and a phantom taste of processed sugar clings to your palate. You feel the smooth, sterile floor beneath your modern shoes, its surface cold and unyielding, reflecting the harsh, artificial light. You are in a vast, open-plan office, a dizzying expanse of cubicles, glowing screens, and anonymous desks stretching out in every direction. The ceiling is a grid of fluorescent lights, humming with a tireless, unblinking energy, casting a uniform, flat illumination that banishes all shadow, all mystery. The outside world is a distant, blurred abstraction, glimpsed only through towering panes of sealed glass. This is a monument to efficiency, to constant activity, to a relentless pursuit of productivity. Hundreds of figures sit hunched over keyboards, their faces illuminated by the blue glow of monitors. Their movements are repetitive, precise, a steady tap, tap, tap of fingers on keys, the occasional click of a mouse, the soft whirring sigh of a computer fan. There are no loud conversations, no boisterous laughter, only the low murmur of hushed phone calls, and the insistent, almost subconscious tapping that forms the backdrop to this modern existence. Each person is physically close, yet utterly separate, encased in their own sphere of digital focus. You walk between the rows of cubicles, a ghost in this landscape of perpetual labor. You observe the faces as you pass. Some are blank, expressionless. Others wear a mask of focused intensity. A few show faint lines of weariness around the eyes. But there's a common thread, a subtle undertone of detachment, a profound absorption in the tasks at hand that renders them almost impervious to the outside world and to each other. No one truly looks up, no one truly connects, beyond the fleeting necessity of a shared project or a quick utilitarian question. You feel a strange, hollow ache in your chest, a recognition of an immense, profound solitude existing within a world crammed with people. This isn't the isolation of a hermit or a leper. This is the new abandonment, the modern kind. It's the terrifying realization that even in a world of constant connection, of endless information, of buzzing activity, you can still be profoundly, existentially alone. The hum of the machines is a constant, indifferent presence, a synthetic replacement for any comforting, guiding voice. You realize with a chilling clarity that settles deep in your soul that this isn't just a godless age because divinity is absent. It's godless because in this world of relentless individual pursuit and technological absorption, the very capacity for shared reverence, for profound human connection, has quietly, inexorably been abandoned, leaving everyone utterly, silently alone in the glow of their own screens. The air around you still hums, a pervasive, low thrum of unseen machines and distant human activity. But now it feels different. Not just the hum of progress, but a deeper, unsettling vibration, an echo of all the silences you've heard before. The metallic tang of exhaust, the synthetic sweetness, the recycled air. They mingle now with the phantom tastes of dust, decay, and brine. A bizarre, unsettling cocktail that speaks of all ages, all places, all forms of abandonment. You are still in the vast, open-plan office, surrounded by the unblinking glow of monitors and the relentless tap-tap-tap of keyboards. The fluorescent lights overhead hum with their tireless energy, casting their flat, impartial illumination on every surface. Yet, as you walk between the rows of cubicles, a profound transformation occurs, not in the physical space but in your perception. The modern world begins to shimmer, to blur at the edges, and the faces of the people, though still absorbed in their digital spheres, seem to carry the subtle, etched lines of all the abandonment you've witnessed. You glance at a young woman, her face illuminated by the blue glow of her screen, her fingers flying across the keyboard. But for a fleeting moment, you see the gaunt weariness of the medieval villager, the quiet despair of the leper, the profound exhaustion of the shipwrecked survivor. A man in a crisp white shirt, engrossed in his spreadsheet, suddenly seems to bear the rigid, unyielding posture of the shamed knight, the intense, feverish focus of the alchemist, the deep, silent wisdom of the ghetto elder. Their individual isolation, so particular to this age, now resonates with a timeless, universal truth. The omnipresent hum of the office, once merely background noise, now morphs. It's no longer just machines. It's the drone of unanswered prayers, the whisper of forgotten wisdom, the roar of an indifferent sea, the cold, silent truth of a broken heart. You feel the weight of centuries of human yearning, of desperate cries cast into the void, of hopes dashed and connections severed. The profound silence that followed the cry from the cross, the unheeded lament in the plague-ridden church, the endless quiet of the desert oracle, they all converge here, echoing through this modern, godless space, a timeless chord of existential aloneness. You realize, with a chilling, undeniable clarity that settles deep in your very soul, that the most terrifying verse wasn't about sin, it was about abandonment. It was about the profound, aching reality that sometimes, no matter how loud you cry, how fervently you pray, how desperately you seek, the universe remains utterly, chillingly silent. And this modern world, with all its light and noise and connection, is simply a new stage for that same ancient, terrifying truth. You are left with the indelible impression of humanity, then and now, forever asking, forever searching, forever, in some fundamental way, profoundly, existentially alone,